All right. I think that's enough. That's enough of the intro music. We'll go ahead and tune that on down. Welcome to Absolutely Degenerate, episode 2. That's more than one.
You lost track already?
Yeah, that's the one that we're on right now, I believe. I'll check our notes here in a moment and make sure that's the case. I mean, we've definitely done one at least already.
Did we?
We did a thing, I think, at some point. The thing has been done. All right, but all
Very
right.
concise.
Yes, right. Now, uh, oops. Oh, shit.
Smooth start.
No, it's okay. It's okay to have the playback from the live show going through your headset. That's good. That's quality right there. but
That's some good shit
I
right
know
there.
this is we're consummate professionals. Merry Christmas. Well, actually, it's not Christmas yet, fuckers. Will be Christmas here in what day are we on? It's the 23rd.
We're the
That's
third, the
yeah,
23rd, so we're Christmas Eve.
the eve of the Christmas Eve. Yes. Now, this is, I guess, the unofficial Christmas show. The unofficial Christmas show. uh,
Yeah, we wouldn't really want to fucking do this on Christmas.
yeah, but no, everything is on schedule as per the plan. Now, we could be hanging out with our family, hanging ornaments, drinking eggnog, but we're dedicated to the cause. That's why we came on. We're gonna talk about some Monster Girls tonight, I believe.
Yeah, it's just because we're so dedicated and not because we have less than ideal family situations.
I know, right? It's not like people are drunk and yelling at one another. That's totally not the case. But
Uh,
what was that? Oh shoot, I had a topic I want to springboard into. Uh, shit. But since I've lost my train of thought, which may be somewhat alcohol induced on my end, we'll go ahead and we'll start with the absolutely wholesome topic of the trad waifu, or specifically the trad waifu meme. Uh, and I'd mentioned this to you before regarding.
yeah, I
Ahead.
didn't immediately know what it was when you mentioned it to me, but
Hmm.
it's sort of about a less lewd and more family oriented sort of thing.
Yes, and you've seen it been kind of sprinkled here and there with the head patting, hand holding, having your waifu cook you breakfast and dinner, having children, that sort of deal. And again, typically what you would not consider fetish material. Okay, but what's interesting, I think, about the trad waifu meme is it's fetishizing something that is normal. So
Yeah.
it's very perplexing, a perplexing meme if there was one. And like I said, this branches off into a couple different topics, which is datarus, or having a daughter with your waifu, as well as offspring as a whole, and MGE canons. Let's see.
I absolutely.
Yeah, we have actually one person in the live chat. We'll say hello to him. If you want, you can go ahead and be the live chat designated person as well. I'll give you a link there.
I suppose.
Yeah, because I'm the one who yammers the most. Uh, but no, I've kind of I don't like how it's a very decisive kind of issue with the trad waifu, because there's like a whole staunch group who's vehemently against that kind of thing. They're all for the fetishism regarding multiple hole entry, uh, goo everywhere, you know, so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
and it's mostly because we think of Monster Girls, we think of it solely as a fetish thing, but it doesn't
Of a
have to always be.
sexualized thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't help, I believe, that in pretty much all the media you encounter monster girls, as whether it's the more subtle Monmusu or the more degenerate MGE, there's always a tinge of the monster girls are raping the guys, which is it's part of the charm, but also, like I said, a little bit disconcerting when you're wanting to have a story perhaps about a traditional family.
A traditional family can start out of that. I mean,
Traditionally degenerate, yes, but no,
you
there's
never know.
there is some content sprinkled here and there where it's a bit more less lewd oriented, which I do enjoy. Um, and
By
we'll
the way,
oh, go ahead.
I hate to sort of take us off track here for a moment, but I can't really be the chat guy because the only account I have is my private one.
It's a private one. Oh shit. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'll
okay.
change that by next time. But
Can you even see the chat? We have
I
a
can see the chat,
you
but
have
if
a
I post in it, then
oh
it's gonna pretty much dox me.
oh all right, that's okay. You silly goose. I'm frustrated because I was gonna go on a whole tangent earlier regarding our Christmas situation, but my mind just stopped cooperating.
I thought it would be good if we moved on from that personally. I don't want to dwell on it too much.
No, like it was tangentially related, but not too related. Uh,
Ah,
but we'll move on to the waifu trad waifu setup, which would be the datarus and
Doctor Who.
datarus. There was actually a very extensive discussion, and I think it was the questions that don't deserve their own thread. Uh, and people were doing gene diagrams and going into explicit detail on exactly what your chances were of having a monster girl offspring or a human offspring, and so on and so forth.
I
I
think that
found
was actually in the biology thread, but yeah, I had seen
biology,
that
yes,
as well, and I really agreed with that assessment.
assessment, yes. Well, I'm a little bit split because, of course, with the monster fandom, you're gonna see a lot of people do not want the monster boys at all. I know, and that's the realm of another board that shall not be named. But I don't see monster boys explicitly in a lewd nature, which I think a lot of the context is with our media. So for me, I don't see having them in the story or in a world per se as necessarily distracting from the otherwise monster girls. And if your world is just consists only of monster girls, for me, like I said, that's a bit disconcerting. It's like where there's something missing here.
Well, also, I think the part of the problem that many people have with Monster Boys is that it adds more competition and it
Yeah.
removes the fact that monster girls are traditionally dependent upon humans.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's in the media. What you have with MGE. Now with Mon Musu, I don't believe monster boys are a thing there either. Uh, the only other thing I can think of like monster boy content would be Rosario Vampire. Are you familiar with that series?
No.
All right, I'll give you the cliff notes. Essentially, this guy is going off to this private school, but the bus that he's on is basically a bus to hell, and he gets shipped off to this demon school. And there's every kind of traditional monster stereotype trope you're going to encounter. There's fish people, spider people, ice demon people. It's a whole menagerie of different colorful characters. Uh, and in that media, they do have the monster boys, but it doesn't. I don't like I said. I wouldn't say that it feels like it's the ratios are unequal or one sided or the other, and you still get a good healthy dose of fan service content in that series. I think.
So what are Monster Boys for then? Are they just sort of set dressing? Do they just sort of exist?
Uh, well, they are part of I guess whatever story you're telling if you choose to include them. That's what I'm getting at.
So let's take this down a little further. In your sort of headcanon, I guess we could say, can Monster Boys reproduce with Monster Girls?
I would assume that would make the most logical sense.
I see. Yeah.
And let's see. I think in my mind it would be the monster gene would be the dominant gene. So for instance, if you had some kids with your preferred monster waifu of choice, they could come out male or female, but they would be a derivative of a monster. They would definitely be monster in some way or another.
Oh, so it would be sort of like a mixture, sort of like when you have like mixed race kids. They're not white or black. They're sort of in the middle.
Uh, Possibly, but more towards the monster side because the monster genes would always win out. I think like they're the what's you call an invasive species.
That's a derogatory term. We don't call them that anymore. You fuck.
Indeed.
Uh, and my opinion is more, or my stance, I guess, is a little more traditional.
Oh, really?
Like that person had said in the thread, monster boys don't exist. They don't exist. You can't have a monster boy child. That's gay. You can't do that. But anything else is possible. Human children are rare, but they can happen.
Yeah. Uh, the only other media that I would use as a frame of reference would be Hyperpolice again, which I mentioned in the first episode. Again, that's another piece of media where you have monster guys and girls kind of intermingled along with humans to kind of create a whole menagerie of different kinds of characters and so forth. So that's where I get my preference informed from. But like I said, I don't have too much more on the trad waifu meme. Like I said, I was a bit put off because I know that some folks, like I mentioned before, just do not care for it.
Yeah, I find it sort of interesting. The daughter thing this is where you can see sort of the split between the two factions.
Yeah.
Because some people want to have sex with young monster girls,
Right.
and other people are like, you ain't gonna fucking touch my daughter.
Right. And like I said, that delves into what I would consider absolutely reprehensible material. But we may touch on that at some point.
I didn't want to go into too much detail.
Indeed. But well, we'll talk more about trad waifus in the future, I'm sure, because like I do love me. I want my waifu to cook me breakfast in the morning and rub my feet when I get home. But
okay.
This next topic, absolutely degenerate. We're going to talk about some robot waifus.
Yeah, I don't like them.
You don't want your waifu to be animatronical?
That sounds awful.
You don't want your waifu to have a port you can plug her into?
I don't want to charge her up. Wait, would a robot waifu from like the MGE universe be powered by fucking semen or something?
I don't believe so. I don't believe MGE even has robot waifus. That's explicitly the realm of other mediums. Like so, I'll get into that here in a second.
MGE is just the one I'm most familiar with, so that's why I went there.
I hear you. Robot waifus. Now, like I said, there's too many examples to name. And to kind of lay the groundwork in terms of definitions and so forth, when I say robots, it's important to note there's smart robots and there's dumb robots. And we've kind of went over this when we were just kind of discussing this topic beforehand. Like technically, like if you go to a car plant, the pneumatic arm that like gives rivets to car frames, that is technically a robot. It's not very smart. It can only do a few things. You know, it's not exactly something you'd want to have sex with.
It would put a rivet in your dick.
Maybe if you want that. But when we're talking about robot waifus, we're talking about robots that also have AI intelligence. Or I guess would you say like Ghost in the Shell would also be robot waifu territory, since that's a human putting their brain into a synthetic brain and then putting that synthetic brain into a robot? Would you consider that robot waifu still?
Well, could you repeat that entire sentence, because I sort of zoned out.
No, it's okay. All right, in the realm of, say, Ghost in a Shell, where you have the Major, who was originally a human person, and they got her brain put into a cyber brain and put that cyber brain into a robot body. Would you consider that a robot waifu? Or would that just be like a cyborg? Because we went over cyborgs as well.
On a physical level, yeah, I guess I would call them a robot waifu, because they've pretty much transferred completely to the robot part of themselves.
I guess
they have like human experiences and memories, but they're not human anymore.
Right. Although, if you want to be nitpicky about it, when most people think of the robot waifu, they probably want more doll-like looks to them. So, like for instance, the Major looks fairly human. Like you couldn't really tell she was synthetic at a distance. Whereas other waifus, you know, they have more mechanized parts on their external frame. But like I said, I think, yeah, the Major would be a robot waifu, albeit maybe a very advanced one.
Yeah.
When I think of like the quintessential robot waifu, you're probably looking at Roll from Mega Man.
Oh. Haiti.
Haiti. Oh my God, Haiti.
Everybody loves Haiti.
Yeah. You also mentioned one that was actually a decent example. What was her name from Cave Story?
Curly Brace.
Yeah, Curly Brace. Curly Brace has a lot of porn on her. Those I think are what most people would consider like traditional robot waifus. You know, you can clearly see that they have robot parts They may have like somewhat human characteristics, but there's no mistaking they are definitely robots in nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, Another series I would probably push people towards if they want like a good variety of robot waifus would be the Phantasy Star Online or Phantasy Star Online 2 series, because there's a lot of customizable uh, character creation systems you can use to like intricately design your personalized robot waifu in those games.
Isn't
And
it sort of cheating if you make your own waifu?
I, I'm sure there's people who've made their own waifu in video games before.
I guess it makes the most sense if it's a robot waifu that you would be able to make it yourself. So I don't know
Exactly.
what the fuck I
Design.
was thinking.
Yeah, you can design your own waifu. But in terms of style and how they're put together, I think PSO, and by extension PSO2, have some of the best in terms of design-wise robot waifus you're gonna find. So definitely give that series a look at if you've not had a chance to, and you're keen on robot waifus. But some other topics I wanted to delve into regarding robot waifus: cleaning and maintaining your robot waifu. Uh,
And I think this topic really, we need to make a distinction between a dumb robot waifu and a robot waifu with an AI.
yeah. Uh, oh,
I
right.
can't imagine anything more awkward than having sex with your robot waifu and then having to disassemble her vagina and fucking clean it.
Yeah, she definitely needs a self-cleaning vagina.
Yeah, that would
No,
that
but
would be really fun.
yeah, we'll get to the non-AI variant right now because that's a good topic to hit on as well. Uh, if you want to, there are robotic waifus on the market today. They're just they're they're very simplistic. They don't move that much, and they don't have too much to say. And that's what they're designed to just be for. They're basically a fleshlight with the mannequin around it. Is the way I see them. But
Yeah,
it
it's
is
really
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying it's really fucking creepy, man.
Well,
Go on.
it is creepy, but I think it's also a very important step forward because these are the baby steps to getting a more competent and responsive waifu that you can actually build and maintain yourself. Like I said, this is the beginning. So
Yeah.
you already have things like Siri and Amazon Voice or whatever, where you talk to the AI system, and it's rudimentary in nature, but it's the very beginning. So once you can kind of refine that AI and make it more palatable per se, give it more emotion, give it the ability to at least give you the
Yeah.
illusion of a living creature,
It
and
needs to be a real simulation of a human.
or the closest facsimile we can get, yeah. And you
Yeah, and
can,
that's
yeah.
that's part of why I have to say, like, why not just have a human at that point?
You mean a monster? But
Or yeah, preferably a monster.
yeah, monster girl. But where was I? Right. So with the AI we have now, you couldn't get a capable robot waifu. She could maybe say a few things intelligently and maybe notice a few things, but overall, it would be a very fancy fleshlight, 40 pounds of pussy and ass that is.
That's yeah.
Yes, literally 40, or I guess it'd be more than that, but you get my picture.
Just attach it to a motor or something so it moves on its own, and then you got it.
Yes. But like I said, when you have that AI, when you have a dynamic personality, a spark of consciousness, if you will, like I said, that's when you get into some deep shit right there.
And that's when you have to wonder, why do I even care about a robot waifu? I guess it's the aesthetic, the physical traits, but still.
Yeah, well, like I said, I always enjoyed the memes around building and maintaining one. For instance, like if you have to go to upgrade your waifu, you'd go to hug her and you're like, okay, Robot Chan, let me go ahead and remove your front breastplate, and you take it off, you can see all of her insides like buzzing and whirring, and you like extend a wire from your computer and like hook it into her. It's like this will keep you from tripping over because you've been tripping a lot. That's that's a bug in the code for your walking algorithm. We got to get that sorted out.
There was an upgrade to the fucking firmware.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this will make your pussy 2% tighter.
Oh my god. I would think that would be something you'd have to like. That would be a limitation of the physical hardware. I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Or, like I said, or there's so many different little jokes you could have about that. Like, or their exhaust port. You have to open up her rear end. And with a can of canned air and like spray the dust, spray the
Oh
dust
my
out of there.
god.
Clean off her fans. Make sure they're nice, and you don't want your waifu to be dusty on the inside. That's fucking degenerate. But yes, maintaining her, upgrading her. Like maybe your waifu's a little bit short, or maybe her hair isn't exactly the right way. You just reach behind her neck and push a little button, and her scalp pops off, and you swap it out for one you like.
Oh yeah, and here's a novel idea to
What's that?
upgrade your robot waifu.
What's that?
Get a better waifu.
Oh, would you throw your waifu out in the garbage? Your robot
Yes.
waifu.
If someone gave me a robot waifu, I would throw in the fucking garbage.
Wait, are you saying robot waifus are garbage, or are you saying that you would just throw your garbage or throw your robot waifu into the garbage?
I would just throw my waifu into the garbage.
Your regular waifu in the garbage?
No, you son of a bitch. No.
Okay, so think before you speak. Give me exactly what you want me to hear. Because right now I'm trying to figure out: do you want to hold on to your robot waifu, or
If I had a robot waifu, I would either sell her or I would throw her in the trash.
throw her in the trash? Okay, so you do not care for the robot waifu.
I do not like the robot waifu.
Well, I do, but this kind of stems into the overarching topic of waifu objectification, which basically could be just about anything. I've seen guys jerking off to car women, to airplane women, to
Yeah, like airplane women and tank women. That's so weird.
I don't know. I prefer the toaster women. They can keep your wieners warm. But yeah, it's the idea of just giving any inanimate object human characteristics and then referring to it as a waifu. That's basically how I see it. I see it as somewhat weak sauce, in my honest professional opinion.
I think it's charming, the plain waifus and everything. I think it's kind of cool from a design standpoint.
From a design standpoint. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Explain to me.
Like, just it must be interesting as an artist to be like, okay, here's a surplus plane from the Soviet era. I'm gonna give it a vagina.
Well, are you referring to? Let's see. There's a whole series of I forget the anime, but essentially girls who are also planes. Is that the kind of style you're referring to? Or are you referring to like actual like plane, like physical planes with just bits of women on them?
I guess more the like they're women, but they're also planes thing.
They're
not
they're
the other
women,
way
but
around.
also okay, good. Because I don't want to see you fucking an Apache helicopter. That's pretty fucking degenerate. Um,
I had said Soviet era, so no, obviously I wasn't talking about a fucking Apache, you noob.
Goodness gracious. But you understand my point. Like I said, the ratio of plane to waifu needs to be strongly on the side of the waifu. You don't want to be chasing after inanimate objects to that extent, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, I'm not too keen on that fetish. Like I said, for me, it seems like it's just an excuse to shitpost almost about waifus in general. Because I can't take it seriously.
It does come off as a little ingenuine when they post about it, but I'm sure someone likes it.
I would assume so with the amount of art you're seeing, but goodness gracious. But what else? Did you want to go ahead and continue on with any of those things, or do we need to jump into the next degenerate topic?
No, not really.
Okay,
I
all
think
right.
we can move on.
All right, you got the Christmas time blues. I got you.
What do you mean?
Nah, you
I'm not
just
drunk like you
you
are.
seem a little low energy, which is okay. I'm pretty low energy myself right now, anyway.
It's late,
Yeah,
know.
it is late. It's my fault for doing the show so late.
It
but
is entirely your fault.
it is my fault. But what's not my fault is monster girls in video games. Now, this topic is rated, again, absolutely degenerate. We're going to be delving into and this is going to be more of a series of sorts. We're going to maybe tackle Breath of Fire, Castlevania, maybe a little bit of Dark Souls, Monster Girl Quest at some point, but goodness gracious, there's way too much content in that game for even 4 or 5 shows. We could have a whole series on Monster Girl Quest.
Oh
But
hell yeah!
tonight we're going to tackle
I
Darkstalkers. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Where were you going with that?
I I had a thought, but I wasn't gonna go through with it, so it was sort of good that you cut me off.
That's good then. Okay, but like I said, we're going to cover Darkstalkers this afternoon, or this night, I should say. What is Darkstalkers? Darkstalkers is a 2D fighter full of fan service and dark humor. So if you're a fan of the 2D fighting scene, you definitely need to check out this classic. It does have good combo systems as well as specials. I'm not the best probably to speak on that, but it like I said, definitely check it out if you can. You can emulate it on PS1 emulators, and I think they've remade it for the PSP as well. So no excuse not to pick it up if you're into that sort of thing. But
I think they made a sequel.
oh, yeah, there was Darkstalkers, Darkstalkers 2, Darkstalkers 3, and a couple like half, like how they do like Street Fighter 2.5, a lot of that kind of shit back in the mid to late 90s. But let me go ahead.
See, yeah, so
I actually
it
have
was sort of half-assed.
yes, I have some pictures for us. If I can grab them real quick. While I'm doing this, go ahead and tell me about your experience with anything from the Darkstalkers series.
Well, I have to say it's one of the most interesting thing that sort of passed by me, because I guess I'm a little younger. I never got to really hear about Darkstalkers. I was
Yeah.
surprised to find that it had like an anime. It had like a cartoon, not a cartoon. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it did actually have a cartoon
yeah, I'm
in
posting it
America.
up in the chat. Here we go. This is the Americanized, bastardized version of Darkstalkers.
I
Yeah.
had seen that.
Yes.
It looks fucking terrible.
That's because it was fucking terrible. Now, as you can see, this is not really a good example of the Darkstalkers artwork. I'm gonna zoom in on this fellow here.
Fucking amazing.
Clearly, this is Darkstalkers. But no, this was the syndicated American bastardized version, like I said, which aired around the same time that the video game came out. It is absolutely terrible, and if you want to subject yourself to some real terrible cartoon artwork and dialogue, give it a watch.
It seems like a bit of a cash in.
Yeah, it makes some good YouTube poop fodder though. But let me go ahead and check my notes, and that'll help me lead into our next spot here.
Okay.
Next our slideshow. Okay, this is the Darkstalkers we want to be more familiar with. This is, oops, whoa, goodness.
He destroyed it.
No, I didn't destroy it. Are you watching the? There we go.
I have it open, but the
Yeah.
delays.
Yeah. Let me try to get this. There we go. Now this is somewhat professional. So, as you can see, a very colorful cast of characters. Interesting designs. You got Morrigan. You got Lilith. You got Felicia. This is Henshin Co. Where's the other one? I think is that BB Hood should be in there somewhere, but I think she's hidden behind someone maybe. But you also got some other male character monsters as well. They all kind of follow traditional monster movie archetypes. You got your zombie, you got your mummy, you got your demon samurai, your abominable snowman, the werewolf, the swamp mode creature, whatever he is. But your classic horror movie tropes, playing as like fighting characters. It's really cool. Like I said, definitely check that out. But let's go ahead and look at our first monster girl for tonight. Let's see.
Felicia.
Yeah, hold on, Felicia. There we go. Or actually, did I put them out of order? Okay, because
I think you put Felicia first.
Did I put Felicia first? Well, anyway, we're looking at Morrigan first because my notes and my pictures aren't lined up. That's okay. But now here's Morrigan. She is, of course, the she is a stereotypical succubus, and like I said, definitely this is the fap fodder for lots of teens of my generation. She has caused a number of different wank stains for sure. Now,
it's a shame that I missed it.
I know, right? But you didn't really miss it because of her. Like I'm not going to say that she is solely responsible for the rise in the pop culture of the succubus, because the succubus has been around for a while, but she really brought it to the mainstream, I think. Uh, she made it more, I wouldn't say palatable, but more maybe accepted to be interested in. Because before then, you had a lot of that, like, if you Googled succubus, you would not see anything similar to this for the most part.
Yeah, you wouldn't see anything sexualized, really.
Uh, or anime based, anyway, I don't think. But
Yeah.
to go over her character in game, she's pretty decent. Move set wise, she has a lot of harassing and kind of like projectile shit, and like long range kind of like spike attacks. But I don't know, not my favorite character to play as. Again, some more
I don't
artwork
really
of her.
have much to say here because
Yeah.
I only know Felicia and Morrigan. So
Oh, really?
this is sort of you.
Well,
Yeah.
you'll learn some stuff tonight. Okay, now here's Morgan's. I guess you wouldn't call her a sister, but she is I guess relative or similar to Morgan. She's the flat chested variety, Lilith. As you can see, definitely going for the other crowd with this one. Again, she pretty much plays exactly the same way Morgan does in terms of fighting style. She has a few different variations to her striking stuff, but for the most part, if you're comfortable with Morgan, you'll be comfortable with Lilith. But really, like I said, she's more or less kind of like a reskin almost, but not quite. but yeah.
Why'd they make the same character twice? That's bad.
Well, like I said, there are some slight differences. Like I said, it's not just like how they look, but also how they play a little bit. Like I said, you'll see slightly different attack animations and so forth. I think, like I said, she was mostly put in there for variety's sake. But
yeah, I mean, they just wanted to reuse their assets, so they made the same character twice. I understand.
No,
really
like I said,
game.
she has her own artwork. Like I said, she has her own sprites and so forth. But like I said, it is a different character, but it's not.
Yeah. I'm
All
just talking shit.
No, it's okay. And here is QB. Now, I always did have kind of a fancy for QB because she is pretty degenerate. She is of course the bug girl. That's artwork by this guy at bayamen at .deviantart.com. I couldn't find any good official artwork of her that I wanted to use, so we just went ahead and used his.
She just didn't catch on.
No, it's a fucking bee. it's a bee and a woman if you combine them together. It's your archetypal bug girl. She has some nice boobies. In terms of play style, she's fairly similar to the other girls. She does have kind of a different way of moving about the screen, whereas like Morgan can kind of skip along. She kind of hovers. I like some of her attacks because they utilize her stinger, and she'll like grab her opponents and jam her stinger into them, which is
lewd, man.
That is very lewd. But like I said, there's a lot of different characters who do lewd things in this game. So let me get another good shot of her. And this one's another art by whoever this guy is. You get to see her tail end here. Again, QB. I'm not sure if I would say QB popularized the bug girl in terms of monster girls, but she definitely she was a very important addition. One of my favorites in the monster girl roster of Darkstalkers. Let me see, who do we have
next? Did a bad job because bug girls still aren't popular. So fuck her, I guess
they aren't popular, or not as popular as I think they should be. Like I said, and when it comes to my taste, I prefer probably the moth girl. Let me see if I have a picture of her floating around. I don't believe I do.
Moth girls are pretty cool.
They are good. And we'll cover that in the next show, I reckon. But apart from moth girls, I can't think of like more bug women that really get my goose going. Now this one, of course, BB Hood, which honestly I'm not going to say qualifies as a monster girl. It's that's because she's not. She's this girl who hunts monsters, and she has basically a bunch of guns, grenades, and all kinds of weapons at her disposals that she has in a little basket. And of course, whenever you're fighting, she'll pull those out and blast the other fighters on the stage.
She's pretty cool. I like her design. She's just Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, her name is BB Hood. Let's see. There we go. That's a more appropriate picture of BB Hood.
Wow.
But yeah.
You can't post that.
Yes. But overall, playstyle wise, she's rather underwhelming. A lot of her stuff you have to kind of stick close and get in close to make it count. You'd think that she'd have more long range stuff with guns, but
that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, one of her heavy attack was like a mine would drop out from under her dress and she would kick it towards the opponent. Which, where was she keeping that mine?
Oh my god.
Yeah, And like I said, it's a very lewd game, very lewd designs, and that's why I love it. It has its own dark humor.
She kept the mine in her hood.
If you say so.
Come on, man.
I'm just telling you where it dropped out of. Let's see, who do we have? We're gonna cover Felicia. Oh shoot! Let me see if I can pull up the other pictures in.
Oh yeah, you completely skipped over.
No, I know what
I
know what I did. I did JPEGs instead of pings, and that's what happened. Let me pull it. Wait, or is that it? Or did I? Well, let me view by. Do medium icons. Unless I did, I fucking forgot Felicia, or what I must have done. It must have slipped out of the pictures. But let me go ahead and I'll grab a quick one because there's every kind of picture of Felicia on the net you could want. See, was there anyone on the list I didn't cover apart from Felicia?
Did you miss someone?
I'll have to check the notes here in uno segundo. But go ahead and talk about your favorite cat girl, the Cheshire Cat, because remember that's your waifu, right?
Well, Cheshire Cat is so much better than Felicia. If C-Cat, as I call her because we're close, if
really?
C-Cat was fighting, shut up, okay? I'm trying to talk about my waifu.
Oh, go ahead.
C-Cat was in a fight with Felicia, she would stand no chance.
Okay, let me get this picture here.
Am I just buying time for you to fuck around with pictures, you asshole?
Thank you. All right. Oh, guys, so bad. That's some local. The JPEGs are alive. Let me see if I can find another one. Let's see.
An animated JPEG. They have those now.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Here's a more higher quality one. Let's see. Archetypical, stereotypical cat girl archetype here. She has ridiculous hair. Like this is a character that came from the 80s.
She's beautiful.
I know, right? She also got me a lot of different wank stains growing up. Possibly, like look at this outfit she has. Now, I call it an outfit. You're supposed to assume that that's her natural fur, I would assume, but like that's a very conspicuous placement of the fur.
That would be weird, considering that would mean she's always naked.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But if I were to talk about her fighting style, I do like it. It's not my favorite. Like I would actually prefer one of the male characters in the game if you're going for fighting style. But her fighting style is not bad. She has a lot of a good ranged kind of pokes and harassing attacks. It's not in the same style as Morgan, but if you like to jump around the stage and fuck with people, she's a very fun character. Oop,
you're putting your cursor all around her naughty bits, man. Don't do
that. Oh, yes. But no, only head pats. That's you have to do the trad wife thing. But
exactly. Turn her into an honest woman. Put some clothes on her.
Now, speaking of an honest woman, I'll tell you a little story. Like in the American cartoon, like I said, they couldn't have her in this kind of getup. So when you see her in this getup in the Americanized version, of course it's a bit more stripped back. And when I say stripped back, I mean actually more fur on her, of course. And often they would put her in a robe to cover up her bits and bobs. So the main draw of her character for the American show was more or less always covered up, which I found amusing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, because you can't have some girl running around with her tits bouncing around all the time, can you?
Not until like 20 years later.
Oh my goodness. But let me go ahead. I think that covers up everything I wanted to touch on because I'd covered my notes here.
Oh, we have some banter from the chat.
Oh, a little bit, yeah. We're best show, the best show around for Monster Girls. But let's see here. That was just some content we had to slog through. But let me go ahead and get you to some other shit here. This is absolutely wholesome. You can totally let the kids watch this part of the show if you want, but I still wouldn't let you. We're going to talk about... I know. We're going to talk about a series I recently stumbled across while I was looking to get my feels triggered, called A Silent Voice.
You should say the Japanese version of the title.
The Japanese version is, I'll try my best, Koi no Katachi, I think.
There you go.
Yes.
It's Feels Overdrive.
It's a very feel-tastic manga. You can read it all online for free, as well as watch the OVA online for free. Let me give you guys a brief rundown of what we're looking at. A Silent Voice follows this kid who is basically a fucking shit stain. He's a real bully, and he bullies this deaf girl when she arrives at the school. Now, it's important to note that he's not like a complete asshole. He's just a typical kid, and when you're a kid, you know, sometimes you're just an asshole. So, he bullies the deaf girl, you know. He hurts her fifis, but despite her fifis getting hurt, like, she still wants to make friends with everybody, including the bully. But
I think she especially likes him.
Yeah, she does especially like him. But, like I said, the whole classroom is kind of in on it. And that plays into the later arc, which we'll get into here shortly. But
oh, no.
the other kids, they bully her, they make fun of her, and they more or less socially ostracize her. So you feel bad for the deaf girl. And I don't want to spoil too much because without trying to, I will jump into spoiler territory without realizing it.
Oh God.
I will say that...
I'll try to keep you back.
Yes. I will say this series did hit me in the feels in a couple different spots. However, this is not a Monster Girl story. So if you're wanting a story with Monster Girls, this is not the one for you. Like I said, this is explicitly a feels one. Go ahead.
I like this a lot. I would recommend it, even though I've only gone like 2 chapters in.
Oh, really?
And I think you've read all of it.
I'd have read all of it, yes.
Here's another element of it that I don't think you're gonna really cover on your own, is that I don't think, in my experience, I haven't seen this sort of cruelty from a child or children, except out of a media property. So if you haven't had experiences like that, then I don't think you'll be able to really identify with it as much.
You think not?
I don't think so, because I can see the feels, but they come off as contrived and fake, sort of, a little bit.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I felt the feels were real. Like, as far as the contrived nature, I would say that it was contrived insofar that some of the bullying was exaggerated, but not by much. Not by what I would consider an unrealistic standard. I mean...
Yeah, like... especially because usually, in my experience, kids will get tired of bullying a specific person.
Yeah.
And this is just really harsh towards the deaf girl.
Well, like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but you're made to think that everyone is kind of bullying her, but it's really just the one main bully. But he thinks everyone is in on it, you know. And that's kind of the trick the story plays with you, because it subverts what you're thinking the other kids are doing.
You spoiled it, man.
Well, like I said, I've not spoiled it all. Like I said, if you want to find out more, definitely pick up the book and read it. Like I said, you can just Google A Silent Voice, read online for free. It's just that simple. Or you can watch, like I said, the OVA. It goes by the same name. I will say, let me go ahead and just double check my notes here. But yeah, like I said, in terms of tackling the subject of bullying, it's done it about as realistic as any work can, in my opinion. I've seen like a lot of shitty versions of what bullying is supposed to be representative of, but this one, like I said, it came about as close as I was willing to say any series has.
And I sort of identify with the bully a little bit, because I remember when I was younger, I felt like if someone got in my way even a little bit, then that was perfect grounds to fuck with them.
Yeah,
That's just how young people are. They're just petty.
yeah. And like I said, it I don't mind a character having a flaw, and making mistakes. And that's one of the things, a theme that I like to tackle in stories is redemption. It's like, if how much can you fuck up and then come back and say, well, I fucked up, but I can do better, and then you come back and do better. Like, that's, for people reading a story, that's a very compelling theme, I think.
I completely forgot that. Yeah, that there's an element of that.
Yeah, but what else was I gonna say? Yeah, if you're familiar with the series Watamote, or It's Not My Fault, I'm Not Popular, it's fairly, I wouldn't say similar, but it's akin to that in terms of how you feel social isolation for the characters. But whereas Watamote deals more with the person just being a weird social outcast and not interacting with anyone, uh, A Silent Voice, more like I said, deals with bullying, but also how bullying kind of, it turns people into like things that they wouldn't normally be, and how like it can separate you from people that you wouldn't normally necessarily be separated from. And it does it's a little interesting trick of animation wise, or if you're reading the manga, graphically wise, how it does it. Uh,
Yeah.
Now, if you are gonna watch the OVA, I will say that it cuts about 10% of the material from the manga. Like, you're not gonna miss that much, but I would definitely recommend reading both to kind of get an idea of the story for either or.
How long is the OVA?
It's actually pretty beefy. I want to say like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So
Wow.
definitely sit down when you have some time. Like that, you don't, unless unless not. But
It would take you like 10 hours to read fucking 64 chapters of
uh,
a manga, I would think.
like I said, I burnt through it in like a day because I would just like speed reading. But like I said, if you're gonna read the manga, like read like 3 or 4 chapters a day. Like I said, it won't take you that long to get through it. It's not as bad as Artie's making it out to be. But
It
like I
is
said,
sort of bad.
oh, it's a little
I'm
bit
just
bad.
kidding.
But no, it's a great piece. Like I said, it's not monster related. So like I said, if you're looking for some girl with a tail that's also a pussy, you will be disappointed. It's not going to have any kind of girls with scales, or girls who are also slimes or anything like that.
And there's
Uh,
nothing wrong with that.
okay. Although I kind of railroaded you there. Did you want to mention anything from the series you wanted to go over, since you touched on a little bit?
I think I had interjected enough about what I wanted to say.
I hear you. Just being my little autism foil. I gotcha. Let me see. What else do we got here on the docket, as it were? Do you want to tackle the subject of breeding? Like, so we kind of tackled this in the trad waifu discussion.
Sure, I'll sort of introduce it and talk about it a little bit. So, the topic of the guaranteed outbreeding of humans in the MGE universe is what you wrote, and I think it's an interesting topic because I think your initial thought would be that this is sort of inevitable, but it really isn't because monster girls are directly dependent on humans, so they would need to keep them around.
Well, yes, but if guys are only breeding with the monster girls, which a lot of MGE will prescribe, it's like, oh, the monster girls all came to the village and they stole all the men. Then where are the next generation of men going to come from if they're not there to breed with the human females? Is where I would go to next.
I sort of see it as like we it seems sort of grim when you think about like a slaughterhouse, what we do to chickens and pigs or whatever.
Oh my
But
god.
the point is that yeah, we slaughter them, but the species goes on. In fact, it's very prolific. There are chickens everywhere in the world, so it's sort of we need them around.
Yeah, but at the same time, the chickens are always being bred with other chickens, so that you always have more chickens coming along. My point being that, who is breeding with all the human females to create more human males and more human females to create more humans? That's the issue that I have.
Sort of the more like aren't there Templars and anti-monster states or something?
There is some stuff like that, and what this topic kind of bore out of was there was a thread regarding I guess the quote unquote end times, or what would be the end game of the MGE universe. And a particular novel tackled the issue, where essentially you had humans living on these little reservations that the monster people would monster people or monster girls, if you will, would occasionally raid, and they would take their pick of the litter, so to speak. So I would
Yeah, that's
assume,
what I figured would
yeah,
be the end state.
uh, right. And with that, like I said, I assume there would be some level of control in terms of the breeding, and that they would leave X amount of males to continue.
Yeah,
Uh,
because wouldn't the monster girls eventually die off if all the human women left?
I guess so. Like I said, I'm not the MGE aficionado. Like I said, this is more your wheelhouse.
I would think so because everything dies of old age eventually.
Well,
I haven't seen a monster girl that can like, at least in the canon, have male children, male human children.
well, like I said, again, neither have I. But like I said, there's so much MGE material out there. Uh, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're missing one thing or the other.
It's possible.
Yeah, I
We'll
was gonna,
suss this
yeah,
out.
yeah. Well, people will let us know
Yeah.
if they care. But
Oh, don't worry, they care.
yeah, like I said, as I've made it clear enough times, I'm not the biggest fan of the MGE universe. Like I said, it subsists, to entertain me in some aspects and not in others. Uh, and listen, I'm not
Not
terribly keen on the idea of human of a little human ranch where humans occasionally get raided and taken away by monster girls. Like I said, for me, again, it's the same issue that I have with the MGE universe all the time, which is that it's all a big fucking monster girl orgy. And as we've touched on as well, the MGE is not the end all be all. There you can deviate from the lore as necessary when you're making your own content, which is often the case with degenerates like ourselves. But
yeah.
it is somewhat disconcerting, like I said, when the information that you're supposed to base your content off of is all focused around the gradual decimation of humans as a whole through through
I
rampant sex.
I do think that if monster girls like became real overnight, I don't think most people would really roll with that.
I
I
don't
think
think
there
so.
would be like organized things against it.
Yes, I'd seen that touched on one of the topics as well. Someone had mentioned basically all the males in the Monster Girl universe are just like absolute betas.
They're sort of like traitors in a way.
Well, I forget the exact passage, but essentially it's like one look from this monster girl and you're like immediately, falling in love and you can't help but fuck her. And
Oh, there's like 3 or 4 of those at least.
exactly. And what that would conclude, you would think, would be that the human males in this universe just can't help themselves.
They
Uh,
don't have any willpower.
yes. And if you're going by the Monster Girl quest, which I think MGE is like somewhat like side based off of, or it's like sister series, uh, what you see with
They're like
that,
sisters.
yeah, kissing sisters, or is that kissing cousins? Anyways, Luca is like he's the one that breaks away. He's trying to establish peace between monster girls and humans, and what he like his goal. I lost my train of thought.
By the way, it doesn't make a sound when I mute myself, right?
No, you're as quiet as a kitten. But
Ah, okay, good.
what Luca does, did you have something to add there?
I was gonna take it back on rails if you didn't, but
Okay,
go
good.
on.
No, you you take the reins. Like I was gonna say something regarding Luca, but my mind is gone.
I've lost it too.
Goodness gracious.
I was curious, so let's sort of change this a little bit, change the topic. On
Shoot.
the show notes, you put conflict with fans of the Monmusu style stories.
Yes.
What was that in reference to?
Right. With the MGE universe, you have, of course, people who love it and they like all the fuckery and so forth. With Monmusu, like I said, that's a whole different animal. or monster, if you will. Because with the Monmusu fans, it's of course there's no imminent threat of humans being replaced. There's not like death and murder. It's not the grim dark future of rape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And what I've seen on some boards that shall not be named is a kind of a go between where you either like one fandom or the other. Within the overarching fandom of Monster Girls, which I'm of the mind of you can't can you not enjoy both for what they are,
You can absolutely enjoy both. Nothing's stopping you. There is no dichotomy here.
Yeah, and I've noticed it's a very kind of shit tier kind of stop liking what I don't like kind of mantra from those on either side who just want to stir shit. Like if I didn't know any better, I would say they were just shit posting. Like no one could be this incompetent and still be browsing an image board.
But I think there is a little bit of the shit posting about it. It's just that they sort of want to start a discussion about which is better. So
obviously Monmusu.
Wow, you can't say that.
Triggered, absolutely triggered.
I'm not going down this road. So.
Oh my goodness.
Fuck you.
Let me get the other picture, and this time I'll make sure that this is the one that you had sent me earlier. I
sent you a picture?
Well, no, you didn't send me a picture, but here we go. Boop. The kelp girl.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. You want to go with that?
I guess so, because I'm running out of steam on the Monmusu versus MGE subtopic there.
Okay. So we're gonna go into the less sort of a recurring topic, I guess you could call it, a segment.
A series?
Yeah, sure. The less appreciated / talked about Monster Girl highlights.
Oh
so
wow.
This is the flow kelp.
That's the announcement. That's what you're gonna go with.
That was that's what I'm fucking calling it, you asshole.
All right, fucking shoot. Hit me.
Caught me off so much, and you completely disrupt what I'm trying to say.
Poor baby. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the flow kelp, pardon me. The flow kelp is one that I don't think I've seen really any art of, and I've seen her mention like once or twice on the board, and I think we all know what board I'm talking about.
The board that shall not be named, right?
Yeah, they're a little shy. They didn't really catch on anywhere from what I've seen, and there's not much art of them. I went looking for art of them, not much. And for comparison, you got the Unagi Juro, which I didn't really give you any information about, but she's like an eel girl.
Oh yeah, those eel girls are fucking nasty, dude. They're all goopy on the outside. No one wants to fuck an eel girl.
Exactly. She fucking sucks, and she's a Mary Sue. I'm not even gonna talk about her anymore. The flow kelp has a bunch of cool concepts intermingled in her. I'll just go through them.
Oh, go ahead.
So she's like a mimic in that she sort of stays incognito up until she gets approached by a guy that she fancies. That's kind of cool. She's like a slime she's like a slime in that she is wholly dependent on the man's spirit, energy, and body fluids. Saliva, for example. You have any input?
Ew. Well, you said that she's like a slime. I thought she belonged to the Mandragora family, if you look at the MGE, but if you want to correct me.
I did not look at that. What? Whoopsies.
It's like, it's okay. She's also a slime, he says. Clearly the MGE aficionado here. And I don't even read the book.
we all make mistakes every once in a while.
Oh my.
There's also this motherfucker, you're always undermining everything I say.
Poor.
There's also this interesting aspect to them, which I think is unique to themselves in that based on the moisture that a kelp girl has, her features will change. And I know you really like this. For example, at low moisture, her appearance turns to that of a little girl.
That's not my particular taste, but go on.
You don't like that? I think it's an interesting dynamic, at least.
Okay. Well, what happens when she gets extra juicy?
Well, I don't know.
Well,
anyways, yeah. At higher than normal moisture, her her like tits swell up and her ass swells up and everything.
Uh-oh.
Originally, I was gonna leave that up to the imagination, but fuck it. In closing, she's underappreciated, and you should make art.
Underappreciated? I don't know. You're literally talking about like the garbage plant of the sea as a waifu, dude. I think I understand why people don't particularly care for her. I mean, she's gonna be at the bottom of the sea, right? Most of the time, because she's kelp-chan, right?
No, actually, I think the article said that she like floats on the with the current.
Oh, right, right. So like you would encounter her like if you're on a boat.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I
And
see.
that's where she traps you, or washed ashore on like a beach or something.
I see. Right. I don't like I said. That's the kind of monster girl that you would like. Oh, there's some garbage on the beach. Someone needs to clean that up. And a guy would just kind of gather her up and toss her back into the fucking ocean.
He would go to do it, and then he would get raped by her.
Raped.
Thank you very much.
Raped by her. Well, if she's in the water, I think she would definitely have the advantage because a fish out of water kind of deal. Or actually,
She's sticky.
she is
She's
sticky.
really sticky.
She is sticky.
So she sticks onto you, and then you can't get rid of her.
Oh.
She's like cancer. I wanted to make her out to be something great, but now you've changed my mind on her. So
I know.
fuck you.
I'm just trying to analyze the monster girl with the information you provided for me, my dude. Like I said, what she sounds like an absolutely garbage waifu. Absolutely, literally throw her into the trash of the sea because no one wants to fuck a kelp girl. I mean, she wants to fuck you, of course, because that's her designation. But if you were to encounter one, would you want to have your way with her? Is my question.
She wouldn't be on my bottom 10 list.
Your bottom 10. Now I want to know your bottom 10 list.
I would have to think about that a little bit.
The magma and golem girls. How about that? How about those?
They're okay.
Dude, Magnum monster girl. She would burn your dick hole. I don't know if I'd want to deal with magma girl.
It feels good because she's a monster girl, and anything that would normally hurt actually feels great. Okay, that's how it works.
Well, I don't know if I want to stick my dick in some lava. That's all I'm saying.
It's not really lava. It's just slightly warm.
Slightly.
It's uncomfortably warm.
Oh.
So it's just terrible, but not enough to kill you.
So
you're just tortured.
So in this recurring segment of the less popular monster girls, let's go ahead and refer to Kelp-chan as the absolutely garbage tier C monster girl. Do not distribute. Do not encounter. Do not give her any kind of love. No head pats. Just
she's not that bad.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if I'd even want to make fucking seafood with her, dude. Like,
look at that wavy hair.
I guess so. Like I said, if I was trapped on a desert island and I had no other choice, and I guess yes, I would have to make do with Kelp-chan. But goodness gracious, that's really scraping the bottom of the barrel, or the bottom of the ocean, as the case may be.
It was either Kelp-chan or that one monster girl that her hair it makes you ejaculate multiple times, and I figured this was more interesting.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Now you got me interested in the hair chan, but we'll save that for next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we? Let me go ahead and take a look real quick. Let's see here.
We're about an hour in. That's pretty cool.
We're an hour in. An hour in of of Kelp-chan and robot waifus. I don't know. It is getting to be Christmas. We can still go over the pet play if you want to touch on that. That will be more your wheelhouse because that was your topic.
I guess we could briefly go over it.
Shoot.
All right. So, monster girls and pet play. I've introduced it. Well, it falls under the rating of absolutely wholesome because we're not talking about the hardcore gay shit of like taking your waifu for a walk or something. That's too far.
Making her eat out of a dog bowl.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, so not that material. You're talking as in petting her on the head, and what else?
Petting her on the head. I don't know. I wish I had thought about this more.
It's okay. I understand that sometimes. Poor Artie. It's okay, but right.
Don't call me that. I'm not your pet, goddammit.
Oh, you will be. But all right, you pet your waifu. Do you put a leash on her in pet play, or is that too far still?
I'd say that's on the borderline.
That's on the borderline.
That's okay so long as it's not out in public.
Okay. So all right, like what about playing fetch with your waifu? Would that be the pet play meme or the wholesome variant of it?
Don't call it a meme. This is my life.
This is your fetish. All right.
This is my fetish. Pet play and Cheshire cats and Mimi the Cheshire, mostly. Yeah, fetch. I mean, I think that's a little too far, but I wouldn't get mad at someone if they were into that.
Well, this is literally your wheelhouse, my dude. So I want to make sure that I'm speaking correctly when I refer to this wholesome pet play that you're going over.
I was hoping that you would talk about your waifu and go into
my
maybe
waifu.
If you did that.
My waifu.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Typical foil. All right. Let me give you my hot take. Like I said, pet play. Like I said before, this is definitely fetish material. I can't take it seriously. Like this is something that you and your waifu do within the privacy of your own home. As far as like my personal waifu, like if I were to say like Netsuki from Hyper Police, like she would not be too keen on pet play. Like if she's horny, she's just gonna like fuck me. That's just about all there is to that.
That's a little bit too much information.
Well, she's a cat. You know, something when a cat gets horny, you know they're gonna fuck. There's nothing you can do to stop them.
Thank you for that input. But I guess you could also say stuff like tampering and treating them with that sort of affection that you would give to traditionally an animal, but it's different, you know.
It's the same but different. Okay.
It's different.
It's different. Well, like I said, if we're not delving into the more degenerate aspects, like I said, that rather limits, I think, the overarching like kind of content you're going to encounter then. Because like I said, there's petting, there's that's just about it, I think.
Petting, head patting, and yeah, that's
like
about it.
Giving her a treat, maybe.
No. I feel like that's too much innuendo.
That's too much innuendo.
That's okay. It's not wholesome.
It's not wholesome. Okay, so just degenerate. I gotcha. But yeah, no pet play unless you're a freaky fetishist like Artie here, and from me. Overall, I rate that fetish, particularly if you're doing only the wholesome size, like low T, low energy, would not redistribute.
Oh, let me interrupt you here because you were low energy. This fella from the chat has my back. They said
really?
Hand holding.
Hand
that
holding.
Is a great example.
Well, hand holding is overarching though, dude. We're talking about Lunchbox Killers in here. Oh my goodness.
It depends on who's holding whose hand.
Right. Well, if you're holding her hand and she's holding yours, it could hardly be considered pet play at that point.
Well, that's different. That's not you're not holding her hand, you're holding each other's hand.
Wait, are you talking like shaking, like shake with a dog when you tell a dog to shake and it holds out its hand for you?
No.
Well, then what kind of hand holding are you talking about? You're limiting the
hand holding between two people that really like each other.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, how is that pet play? How is that not just hand holding?
It depends on if you're holding their hand or if they're holding your hand or if you're holding each other's hands.
This is some weapons grade autism you have here, Slim, because I'm having trouble following you. You're distinguishing between a particular style of hand holding. I'm just
bullshitting at this point. I apologize.
That's okay. That's about as much as I would expect from you, Artie. So let me go ahead and uh, viewer
I'm not an
suggestion.
autism foil. Fuck you.
I think you are my dude. Uh, Monster Girl green. What is your favorite Monster Girl green text? Probably the ones that I write myself. Is this your topic or? Yeah, I think this is your topic.
Uh, this was mine, but I had gotten it as a suggestion from a viewer
A
in the
viewer,
thread.
neato. Like I said, I read some green texts. Whenever I do though, like I usually like my cringe tolerance is painfully low. So
What? What do you mean?
it's
You
like if
just can't enjoy something?
I can if it's of a high enough quality. And some green text like every so often you'll get a properly nice green text. But a lot of them feel for me like very contrived. It's my waifu came home from work and then we fucked. And that's about the extent of it. Which is
That's I've
what?
never heard of a green text quite like that.
I'm sure someone has made it. But the point is that it's nothing like a deep and enthralling narrative, or if there's any kind of like character arcs or anything, which you would expect from a green text thread. You know, you're not getting the most deep and compelling stories anyway out of green text threads, but
It's storytelling that's easy to consume.
uh, it is, and like I said, a lot of those stories, like I said, I don't particularly care for. But like I said, when I'm writing them, I love my
So
green text stories.
your answer is that you like your own bullshit.
Yes.
That's fucked up.
What? Well, like if I find a good one, I will let the person know. I'm like, this guy took some time and he captured my feels. He made me feel something. That's what I'm looking for in a green text story. I want to read the story and afterwards think, oh my god, I can like my emotions are running wild. You know, as gay as that sounds.
I think you're just a fucking loser.
I'm a fucking loser. Okay, well
And
show me your green
I
text.
was
Show me your green
I was
text.
just making time for when I found my green text. Mine is from the green text thread in particular, and it's called The Hero's Calling, or at least that's what I call it. It should be pretty easy to find, but it's basically it's a superhero story.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of slice of life. I think it's kind of cool.
All right.
I don't
Well,
want to spoil the thing.
you don't want to spoil it, but you'll give us just that little nitbit. All right. So
Yeah,
without spoiling too much, like what are the themes of this green text story?
themes.
Yes,
What
like
am I, a fucking literary class?
well, I assumed you had some level of expertise in discussing stories and so forth. Let me go ahead and
I
explain.
don't.
Let me do some elementary baby's first literary exercises. When we're talking about themes in a story, we're talking about
Human versus human.
Oh, there you go. See, if you remember from grade school.
I had to go back to grade school.
Yes, themes like what's the conflict? You know what
I
is
think
this?
if I told you the conflict in more detail, then I think that would spoil it.
Okay, well, don't tell me about the
That's
conflict. What are the characters trying to do? What's driving the characters forward? Is it a matter of them wanting to redeem themselves for their past mistakes? Is it a character who wants to be courageous and save the world? Like, why? Sell me on like the concepts this green text story is trying to make me think about.
What kind of inspiration or motivation can a fucking superhero have? Of course they're doing it for like the good of humanity or whatever.
That sounds very fucking vanilla, but go on.
No. I think I've told you enough, you fuck.
Oh, okay, so let me get this
Just
straight. What?
just check it out if you're listening to this and you're less smarmy than this motherfucker is.
Smarmy. I'm trying to give you my legit hot take. I'm trying to be totally for realios for you, and you're shooting me down. I'm slighted.
You're giving me PTSD from when I was in elementary school. You're
Well,
bringing up bad experience.
Artie, can you tell us what the theme of the story was?
Well,
Exactly.
why'd you pick me?
Yes, but no. Well, if you want to discuss this stuff in the future, Artie, let me tell you what I'm looking for from you, so you know what to look for, so you know what to say. Like, for instance, if the story is about, let me think of a good example here. It's like, say if the story is about people not having enough time to spend together with one another, and the monster girl says like she works really hard at work, and the guy was like he's always waiting at home for her, and when she finally gets home, he's so happy to see her, and you basically the story is learning to have patience, the kind of love that you have when you're alone and you're waiting on the person you love to come see. Like that's something that's compelling. That'll make people think about stuff. Just as an idea. Man versus time. Again, a very basic bitch example, but to give you an idea of what I'm looking for, like what kind of themes are we tackling? What is?
It is
What?
a story of a man who is running into some financial troubles in his life.
Yeah, oh, sure. Well,
And
whatever the
he's trying
conflict
to
may
help,
be.
but he runs into another person who really gets in his way and really pisses him off. Fuck you. There's your answer.
Were you trying to do some OC there and you lost your way?
I didn't lose my way. I went the way I fucking wanted to. I was explaining the themes in a stupid fucking voice.
Thank you very much, Artie. Goodness. Let's see. Let's see. I think that covers everything. Unless you want to touch on any meta narrative shit we want to go into regarding the board that must not be named in our wonderful show.
No, that's okay. The cool people.
the people who will tell us how much this show sucks compared to the first one. I think our second show is a bit on the rocks. It's not our fault. I think we're both a bit tuckered from Christmas and presents and so forth.
Yeah, I'm antsy. I just want to spend time with my family.
Well, I told you to fucking go ahead and do that, and I'd run the show solo if you were like running on 2 cylinders.
You were all like, "Oh, I'll just do it on my own then." I was like, I have to give this man something to work with, or else he's gonna be a fucking wreck.
You probably did work as a good foil this afternoon to get my autism sparked and going. So for that I do thank you. But if you ever feel inclined to not show up because you're sick or because your family like died in a car wreck or something, that would definitely be something I would understand.
Thank you.
That's about all the meta posting for the show I guess we have.
Great.
So if Artie doesn't show up, don't worry. The show will continue.
Good.
Oh yes.
Everyone's gonna like it more when I'm gone.
That's not true, Artie. Like you may be a bit spurgy, but I mean, if you weren't here, who would I have to bitch at? Exactly. So
just get that lunchbox fella. I don't want to say his full name because that's incriminating, but just get him. He seems like you like him more.
He's a typical atypical nigger, but if you would like him to sub for you, we can maybe try and have him on and see what he has to say about Monster Girls. But I would not want to replace you, Artie. You're totally capable most of the time. When you're not fucking up.
Thank you. I do fuck up sometimes, but that's life.
You're a supreme gentleman if I've ever met one, Artie. But
thank you very much.
I think
I take a bow between myself and the audience.
Oh my goodness. And with that, like I said, I think we've shit posted enough. Let's let the audience get back to their Christmas affairs. I'm gonna get our outro music here on in just a second. Do tune in next time when we discuss Cunnilingus with Clam Girls.
Bye.
Yeah, it's goodbye, folks. As I try to find the music.
I'll fill in the blank here.
Where'd I put the music? There we go. Monster Girl show. Here we go.
Goodbye, Felicia. She's my favorite monster girl now. Fuck you, Sea Cat.
There we go. Here's some artificial intelligence.